This is what I made as a personal chef in Beverly Hills. My clients wanted a nice and light meal to start the week, so we settled on some grilled colossal shrimps. Massive suckers. I got a few questions last time on why I clean my shrimps this way, and there are a few reasons why. When I cut it through the stomach, I can clean out the poop chute and still have that thin flap of flesh on the backside that holds it together when I butterfly it, allowing me to season the shrimp throughout, cook it evenly, and have it look nice and presentable. It's just a personal preference. Then I made a marinade of olive oil, grated garlic, turmeric, cumin, smoked paprika, oregano, onion powder, and a little bit of brown sugar, then tossed it with the shrimp. You might be wondering why I didn't have any salt in that marinade, and that's because I find that to be the most inconsistent way to season. You have no control over how much salt is going into your protein, so I always season them afterwards. That way I know exactly how much salt each piece has. I also got a lot of comments from people in North Africa telling me that I should rinse the couscous, steam for 10 minutes, 3 times, breaking them up between each steam. So I took their advice. This was after the first steam. So far looking pretty good. It felt cooked, but I just broke up the clumps and threw it back into steamer for another 10 minutes. Pretty warm day, so I wanted a light side salad to cool the whole dish down. I made a simple dressing with olive oil, za'atar, lots of fresh lemon juice, pickled shallot liquid for some sweetness, pickled shallots of course, heirloom tomatoes, gutless cucumbers, Kalamata olives, parsley, mint, and cubed avocado. It's honestly the perfect summer side salad. On the third steaming of the couscous, I added a bit of olive oil, butter, and salt for flavor. Then let it go one last time. Our veg is this beautiful cauliflower from the farmer's market, simply seasoned with the same flavors as the shrimp and into the oven. I also wanted something kind of creamy and tangy, so I got some labneh, which is a Middle Eastern strained yogurt. It's thick, tangy, and very good. If you ever make sauces with yogurt, get labneh instead. You'll never go back to using yogurt, I promise you. I combine it with parsley, olive oil, mint, lemon juice, and a little bit of honey to offset the tang and round it out. As you can tell, I love fresh herbs. I also got these preserved lemons. If you don't know, preserved lemons originate from North Africa and used a lot in Moroccan cuisine. They're lemons that are basically preserved in a mix of salt and their own juices. Super cool. One thing about preserved lemons, the flesh is not usually used, just the rind. At least as far as I know. The flesh is so salty, but maybe it does have a use. Let me know if you guys know. Flavor is also different from fresh lemon zest and juice. It's obviously salty, and it's more of a muted, mellow lemon flavor. Not as much of a sharp tang, but definitely still lemon. So I chopped it fine and combined it with the couscous to season it, along with some of that liquid from our side salad to brighten it all up. It's now 1 and that means it's time to finish up. I grill the shrimps nice and hard on the grill to get a smoky char and get ready to plate. Spoonful of the honey herb labneh, top it with that cucumber, tomato, olive, avocado side salad, preserved lemon couscous, grilled shrimp that I hit with fresh lemon juice, and the roasted cauliflower. Bright, healthy, balanced. Is this enough food for you? This is how I cook for my clients as a personal chef in Beverly Hills. It's Tuesday, which means that tomorrow we will be receiving a new shipment of vegetables from the farmer's market. And that also means that I usually have small amounts of random vegetables that must be used up. My clients are still recovering from that paella that they had eaten a few days ago, so we are going to keep it light again with some grilled salmon. Nothing crazy, kosher salt, onion powder, garlic powder, olive oil, and fresh lemon zest. It's pretty hot, so I want this fish to be as zingy as possible. Now to start prepping my veg, I trim up this broccoli de chico? Broccoli de chico? I think it's broccoli de chico. If you've never had it before, broccoli de chico is an Italian heirloom variety of broccoli and is probably my favorite member of the broccoli family. It's sweeter and the stems are very tender. Then I blanch in salted water and shock it. I have a small amount of skinny asparagus, so I trim the tips and cut the rest into little rings. Cube up this single lonely globe squash, remove the strings from a handful of sugar snap peas and slice in half. Marinate these cut tomatoes in extra virgin olive oil, salt, and red wine vinegar. And for our final veg, I've got a few of these baby heirloom carrots left, so I just give these guys an oblique cut, toss in olive oil, salt, and a bit of honey before roasting these guys separately in the oven. It's already almost time for lunch. I only get about an hour and a half every day to get their lunch ready. I've had a few commenters asking how my fish never sticks to the grill, and there are a few things I do to make sure I don't have to worry about that. First one is making sure the grates are clean. If there's any burnt pieces of carbonized protein, your fish will probably stick onto it. Second thing is that the grill should be ripping hot. The lower the temp, the higher the chance that the skin will cook onto the grates and get stuck. I'll usually preheat the grill to the max, and then right before I put the fish on, I'll lower it to the lowest heat to mitigate the chance of flare-ups. Third is that I always coat my fish in a thin layer of olive oil. If you do those 3 things, your fish should never stick to the grill. And while the salmon finishes cooking, it's time to cook our veg. When you saute a bunch of vegetables together, take into consideration what needs the most time in the heat. If you throw them in all at once, you'll be left with some overcooked veg and some that still needs a bit more time. So in a preheated pan over medium-high heat, I throw in a bit of avocado oil, the zucchini first because they are the largest of the raw vegetables, and the broccoli de chico. I wanted to get that broccoli in the pan early on because it had a lot of moisture from when I blanched them. Once the zucchinis and broccoli are 80% 80% cooked and have some color, I throw in the asparagus and the sugar snap peas. These won't need that much time since they're small and we want these to have a bit of a bite, not mushy. And right at the end, I throw in sliced garlic, give it a quick fry in the oil, and hit it with plenty of fresh lemon juice to stop the cooking and brighten it up. I like to throw sauteed vegetables onto a paper towel to absorb any excess oil and liquids. Don't forget to season your veg with salt as you go. Now to plate, I just pile the sauteed vegetables nicely on one side, plate the grilled salmon and throw those marinated tomatoes on top so that the juices and vinegar from the tomatoes seep down into the veg and the fish. I almost forgot the roasted honey carrots, so I add that as well. Finished with some pickled shallots, chives, and that's how I use my leftover veg. How do you use up all your leftover veg? This is one of my clients' favorite lunches. It's a quick and simple chicken dish that I only make for them when it's stone fruit season. I know it's still a bit early for peaches and nectarines, but the farmer's market is already filling up with them. I start off by breaking down my whole chicken, 2 wings, 2 breasts, 2 thighs, and 2 legs. And I always debone the thighs because they like it that way. I season them simply with a bit of olive oil and herbes de Provence. It's a French blend of dried herbs that originated from the southeastern part of France, and it goes extremely well with chicken. This blend has thyme, savory, basil, fennel, and lavender. It's herbaceous, floral, it's fantastic. So I rub those herbs all over the chicken with some olive oil, and then I season each piece separately with salt so I can control the amount. To make sure my client gets enough fiber, I went with quinoa. I give it a quick rinse in case there's any saponin that could give it a bitter taste. Season with salt and fill with water using the finger method. Bring to a boil, put the lid on and into the oven at 350 for 23 minutes. The chicken is going to take some time, so I get the chicken on the grill and let it slowly cook to get that skin nice and crispy. My clients will always prefer a grilled chicken over roasted chicken. While that's going, I start off by sweating some finely minced shallots in olive oil and a pinch of salt. I throw in some grated garlic just to quickly fry. I always put garlic a bit after I put my onions or shallots. Garlic burns extremely quickly, and this just gives the shallots a bit more time to get to where I want it to be. Then I deglaze with white wine, reduce, add this sweet dark cherry vinegar. You can just use balsamic if you can't get this. Then a bit of chicken stock and honey. Once the sauce has reduced a bit and it's getting thick, I throw in the cut nectarines. The peach was riper, so I wanted the nectarine to cook slightly before I added the peach. Otherwise, they would turn to mush before the nectarines were perfect. I also added a tiny sprig of rosemary. Once the nectarines are where I want them to be and the sauce has reduced a bit more, I add in chiffonade, basil, and mint, just letting those flavors meld together. Now taste your sauce, and if you want it tangier, add more vinegar, sweeter, more honey. Now you're cooking. Then I finish it with a tiny nub of butter to get it shiny and give it a richer mouthfeel. And that's our sauce. It's now 1 p.m. and that means it's time to plate. As you guys know, I always cut crispy skin down so that the skin stays perfectly on the chicken. I also like to lay any cut proteins on a paper towel to pick up any juices that may be released. I plate the steamed quinoa, spoon our stone fruit cherry sauce on the bottom, some of that dough fruit on the side with basil and mint, then our sliced chicken. A leg for him, a wing for her, and a bit of thigh and breast for both of them. And finally, the steamed green beans. Off it goes. Are you team grilled chicken or roasted chicken? Let's get this over with. I feel like I'm gonna get some trash talking in this video. Let's get on with it. My clients are having guests over and they want to have barbecue rib. That's right. But as some of you guys might know, they do not have a smoker, so we are doing it the old wrap and bake method, which they love. The day before, I seasoned up the baby back ribs with their special family recipe, Emerald's Rib Rub, which contains salt, sugar, brown sugar, paprika, garlic, mustard, onion, and chili powder. I also added on some celery salt. Then I double wrapped them in aluminum foil and let those absorb that seasoning overnight. Next day, first things first, I throw those into the oven at 300 degrees to bake for 3 hours or until they become fall off the bone tender. First side they requested is potato salad, so I boil these Yukon Gold potatoes in salted water. While they're chilling, I make the dressing, which is mayo, relish, Dijon mustard, chives, sweet pickle juice, celery salt, and dill. I chilled the potatoes, peeled them, cubed them, and tossed them with the dressing. I almost forgot the sugar snap peas that are in basically every video. Second side request is cornbread. Here's how I used to cut corn when we had to break down cases of them. We would get a large bowl with a smaller bowl on the inside, put a towel on top of the smaller bowl to protect our knives, place the cup in the center, and just slide down, allowing the bowl to catch the kernel. I start off by cooking the corn in butter over medium heat, sift cake flour, combine with sugar, baking soda, baking powder, cornmeal, and give that a whisk. Once the corn kernels are golden and the butter has browned, I blend it. As it's blending, I add in milk, cream, and eggs. When it's smooth, I just add honey depending on how sweet I want it to be. Then I combine it with the dry ingredients. I butter the muffin tins thoroughly, making sure no corners are bare, and coat with flour to prevent sticking. Scoop the batter and into the oven at 375 until golden brown. It's now 1, and that means it's lunchtime. As always, eggs and toast. By the time I finished serving them, the cornbread were ready, and I put them on a cooling rack to chill. Their third side is baked beans. It's an old super secret family recipe of theirs that's been passed down from generation to generation. It's bushes, yellow mustard, ketchup, and brown sugar. Some people might consider these overcooked since they are so soft, but that's how my client likes them. Fourth side is good old mac and cheese. For the sauce, I start off by making a roux with butter and flour, roughly equal parts. I cook up the roux and slowly drizzle in room temperature milk, a little at a time to prevent clumps. Then I cook this down until the flavor of raw flour disappears. Season with Dijon mustard, add in Monterey Jack, extra sharp cheddar, aged cheddar, and mozzarella off heat. If your cheese sauce is grainy, it means that it got too hot, so be careful. Then I combine my shells with the cheese sauce and give that a good mix before putting it into my baking pan to throw in the oven. For the barbecue sauce, I use their favorite, Sweet Baby Ray's. And before you start typing, yes, I know how to make barbecue sauce, but this is my client's favorite. It's also just a good barbecue sauce. I don't care what you say. I break down the ribs, sauce them up with our Ray's, and get them on the grill to get a bit of a char and caramelize those sugars. I've got a little time before service, so I do some dessert prep, caramelize some sugar, throw in some peeled peaches, and add in that nice sweet cherry balsamic vinegar, vanilla paste, and a little bit of salt. I also grabbed one of those cornbreads, broke them up, and threw in the oven to toast until it almost became a crunchy cornbread cobbler topping. I served them up the potato salad, baked beans, barbecue ribs, mac and cheese, cornbread, and butter. A hefty meal. They request this exact same setup probably once a month. Now for dessert, I get a scoop of vanilla ice cream, add in the warm caramelized peaches with the sauce, and the crunchy cornbread topping. How do you feel about baked ribs? Here's a big prep day as a personal chef in Beverly Hills. First thing I like to do is get my steak seasoned ASAP, simply with kosher salt, the last of my mushroom powder, black pepper, and a bit of garlic butter. After washing my russet potatoes, I coat in kosher salt and wrap in aluminum foil before baking at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 40 minutes or until soft. We got a shipment of mixed mushrooms from the farmer's market, so I just break those up, toss in olive oil and a bit of salt, throw it onto a sheet pan and get it roasting. Depending on the kind of mushroom, I like to cook them differently. For more delicate mushrooms, I always prefer roasting so that they don't shred or fall apart in the rough saute. For meatier mushrooms like the creminis, I like to gently saute in a little bit of butter and garlic. Once they're cooked down, I hit it with some sherry wine and get that reducing. I'm also going to add the roasted mushrooms here. Once you roast the more delicate mushrooms, they'll firm up and you won't have to worry about them breaking up. Once the alcohol has been burned off, I add in a bit of Dijon mustard and fresh thyme with a bit of chicken stock to make it saucier. Then a dollop of creme fraiche to make it creamy, fresh tarragon, parsley, and chives. This is going to be the sauce for our steaks. It's almost lunchtime, so I get those steaks on the grill and get ready to plate. Lunch is a baked potato with butter on the side, steaks cooked rare as always, a little Malden, wilted spinach, roasted squash, pickled shallots for acidity, and our wild mushroom sauce with creme fraiche and tarragon. Then we go straight into weekend prep. I always cook them a whole chicken to eat over the weekend. Always slightly different. This chicken will be shredded, so I spatchcock it by cutting out the spine and using my hand to flatten it. I've got a little bit of sazon left, so I just generously sprinkle that all over with a bit of olive oil, and I let that sit for an hour before putting its skin down on a preheated carbon steel pan with a bit of avocado oil. I flip it halfway and then cook it until it's done. Look at how beautiful it is when it's ready. She is in love with the regular Asian chicken salad dressing, but he wanted to try a peanut butter variation, so I just whisked in some peanut butter for his. I get a lot of questions asking if my clients ask for a repeat of any dishes, and the answer is yes. There are just some dishes that they really enjoy every other week. They apologize saying that it must be boring for me to make, but honestly, it's nice not to have to think of creating something new for every meal. 14 meals a week is an awful lot of creating if you're changing it up every week. That's 56 meals a month or 2,912 meals a year. That's a lot of dishes. I have met a few private chefs who make the switch from restaurants, and even chefs with years of experience in Michelin star kitchens have trouble making the switch because they go from a few elaborate dishes per season to having to cook a new meal from scratch every single day. It's definitely a different skill set. And for something new, they requested borscht this weekend, so I sweated down some minced onion in a bit of olive oil, and while that's going, I shredded beets and carrots. Once the beets have mostly cooked down, I add in the carrots with a bit of salt and black pepper. I also made a beet puree with some beets and water to turn into the soup base. I add that in, I gently cook it until the beets and carrots are cooked but still have a little bit of a bite. Simply seasoned with a bit of sherry vinegar to brighten up all those earthy flavors. For the last meal of the weekend, a grain bowl. Quinoa, steamed asparagus, curried cauliflower, roasted sweet potato with cumin, marinated tomatoes, and fresh cucumbers. I also made them a balsamic vinaigrette for them to pour over. Finally, their dinner. So I made her favorite salmon crudo with yuzu soy, avocado, wonton chips, and caviar, and he got his grilled salmon niçoise with just a bit of quinoa for texture, green beans, potatoes, avocado, pickled shallots, lettuce, tossed with a balsamic vinaigrette, finished with an avocado rose, and the grilled salmon. Love to see all you guys sending me photos of your avocado rose. It's so cute, I love it. And as always, thank you guys for watching and engaging.